The JB74 Suzuki Jimny has been with us for just over 2 years now. We know it's a fun vehicle, we know it's capable off-road, and it's one of the cheapest four-wheel drives money can buy. In saying that, with recent price hikes, is it too much of a compromise to live with daily? And can you actually take it camping? We're next to a freezing cold river in freezing cold Lithgow, loaded up with camping gear to see just what you can actually fit inside this vehicle. Well, we'll get to the gear in the back in a minute, but let's just take a look at some of the features on the outside of the JB74 Jimny, starting with roof gutters up here, making it easy to put a lightweight roof rack. Lightweight, that's the key word there. Electronically controlled side mirrors, which is another good feature. Now moving up to the front, we've got these beautiful 15-inch alloy wheels. I think they look stunning and really suit the car. If we go up the top here, you've got your cameras here, and that's for integrated safety technology like lane departure assistance and collision mitigation, which you can also turn off from inside the car. Moving to the front, LED headlights, and they're a fantastic unit. They're super bright, really recommend them. And you've got your washer jets here to keep them nice and clean. Well, there's no denying the Jimny's a pint-sized four-wheel drive, but with some clever packing, I think you'd be amazed to see just how much stuff you can fit inside. Well, I'm genuinely surprised at how much stuff we fit in the Jimny, and the cool thing is there's actually a little bit more room. I didn't pack it that well. So what have we got? This is our campsite for the night. We've got 2 chairs, a full-size chair, a smaller hiking chair. We've got this really good sized table with my BioLite stove and cooking gear, which I've kept in this orange storage case over here. That's got everything in there, cups, plates, bowls, everything we need. A bag of clothes. We've got some recovery gear here with a snatch strap, tyre deflators and some shackles. We've also got this massive 75-litre fridge. This thing's ridiculous in this car, but it's what we had, and it's also got a built-in lithium battery, so there's no need for a dual battery system. We've also got this power pack here. It's all running off a 200-watt solar blanket, so it folds up nicely. More than enough power for what we need. We've got this full-size single swag, and I reckon if you wanted to get a bigger swag, you're gonna need roof racks, but this is what we could fit inside the car. And I think that's genuinely impressive, considering there's still a bit more space for your water, maybe an air compressor and things like that. Very cool. Okay, JB74 Suzuki Jimny. It's been with us for about 2 years now. It was released in 2019 in Australia. And not terribly much has changed in that time. It's still a very solid package. I think the biggest change has been the increases in price. There's also been no increase in availability of the product because it's still a wait time of 6 months to 12 months, according to what people are telling us. And that's got to show you something. It's a good thing. It's obviously very popular. And why is it popular? Well, it's pretty easy to work out. It's cheap. Let's say it's cheap. Even though I don't think it's affordable. And I think there's a big difference. So while it is one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest four-wheel drives on the market, in my personal opinion, I think this is probably a $25,000 car drive away. And it's more like a $30,000 car these days. You want an excuse to drive this Jimny because Suzuki's about to release a new model called the Lite, which basically shaves about $1,500 off the purchase price by giving you things like steel wheels instead of alloys, halogen headlights instead of LEDs. So that's going to be a welcome addition to the market, but is $1,500 enough to justify the difference? Because you get a wonderful infotainment screen in this, very handy with navigation, things like that. The sound system's okay, it's a bit quiet, but it does the job. The alloys look great, and the LED headlights perform fantastically. They are really bright. You read on all the online Suzuki forums, people keep getting flashed because they think they've got their high beams on, but it's just a wonderful headlight. So let's talk about the car. It's a 1.5 litre, 4-cylinder, naturally aspirated petrol motor. This one's made into a 5-speed manual gearbox. You can also get a 4-speed automatic, which sets you back a couple extra $1,000. And in this day and age, most people opt for an automatic transmission in their vehicles, but I dare say more people would be buying the manual than the auto when it came to the Jimny. So what's it like to drive? Well, let's be honest, it's absolutely hilarious. It's so much fun. It's just a bit silly, but at the same token, I think it's really practical in many ways. Like I've been enjoying driving this to the shops on the weekend because it's so maneuverable. You've got so much visibility. You can fit everything you need in from a shopping trip and not much more really. But it's a very handy little town car, I suppose you'd call it. And then you get to rural places like we are at the moment, and it's a very handy four-wheel drive too. Thanks to the All-Grip Pro traction control system, you can actually take it some places it probably shouldn't really be going. Now, in my opinion, the biggest limitation for this vehicle off-road is ground clearance. It really is quite low underneath those trailing arms or the radius arms. Because they mount directly to the chassis, There's just no way around that. So again, the aftermarket to the rescue, you can get some nice skid protectors to go underneath and act as a slide. And I'd be looking into that if you don't want to smash them up. Now I'll also be looking at a 2-inch lift or a basic suspension lift, more than anything just to firm it up. Like, this is such a jiggly, soft ride, which is all well and good when you're bouncing along tracks, but it's no good around corners in town and things like that. So a decent set of aftermarket suspension with a bit of lift is going to be a big improvement to the all-round behaviour of this vehicle. A set of more aggressive tyres is always a good thing too. A set of 215 75 15 all-terrains, or even 235 75 15, which is about a 29-inch tyre, it's going to make a massive difference to the way this vehicle handles off-road. Now, speaking of gearing, it's not great, I'll be honest. Now, on-road, this thing makes peak power around 4,000 RPM. It really seems to come alive at about 4 grand. And when you're off-road, that means you've got to keep the boot in. You can't just crawl it like a diesel dual cab. Even this slight incline now, I'm flat to the floor at 3 grand, and it's just not moving. It's not going to want to move past 80 k's an hour. And it's a 100 zone. Smash it up to third, and we're moving because it's making power. So you can't drive this thing like a diesel. You've got to drive it like a petrol. Funny that. But it is a ball. It's an absolute ball to drive. Well, it's been a fun 2 weeks living with this Suzuki Jimny. We've taken it everywhere from off-road tracks on private property, through the forestry trails, and even camped with it. You saw how much gear we managed to fit in the back, and I reckon you could fit even more. Now, what would I change? Well, I'd like to see a little roof rack on top, just somewhere to put the swag. I'd like to see a little bit taller suspension and a little bit firmer suspension, and some proper off-road rubber. You have a good little off-roader that way. But the big question, is it worth the money? And I've got to say, it's starting to get a little bit too expensive. Once it started creeping up over $30,000, I think there's probably better options. It's a great vehicle, but it's also a compromise of a vehicle. If you can live with that compromise, that's up to you.